Oh, please, Vitamin Overlord, accept my gift. Why, guys? Don't mind me. I'm just offering all these things to Overlord Spider-Man over here. You may be wondering, why consoles and games and all that other shit? Well, the last time I tried to give him a human offering, he didn't really like it. Anyways, today's topic is... What did we do today again? Today we're going to be talking about a system's best-selling game. So, before we start this up, I first want to say that I won't be including either the Sega Master System nor the Sega Game Gear, seeing as I can't find any valuable information about its best-selling game, and even though I did on the Master System, I still couldn't find any sale numbers. Also, the consoles and handhelds that are still getting supported to this very day, like the 3DS and the PS4 and Xbox One and Switch and so on, are included in this list, but only as a so far category, so this will definitely change. Or maybe not, I don't know. I can't see the future. So yeah, let's just start. First off, we start with the NES. What a console. Or maybe you just prefer to call it a Famicom if you live in Japan or just a stinker. Obviously, its best-selling game was Super Mario Bros. It was first released in Japan on September 30th, 1985, and it sold over 40 million units worldwide. That makes it also the 5th best-selling game of all time. Next off, we have the Game Boy and Game Boy Color. The reason I put these two together is because online you can't find a list of only the Game Boy Color. It's always with the original Game Boy together. So we're just gonna do it like this. The most sold Game Boy and Game Boy Color game is Tetris, obviously. It first released in Japan on June 14th of 1989, and it sold more than 35 million units worldwide. And this makes it the best-selling game of all time. Second place is Minecraft, but we don't talk about that game. Sega Genesis, or as a European call it, the Sega Mega Drive, had as its best-selling game Sonic the Hedgehog. It first released in North America on June 23rd, 1991, and it sold over 50 million units worldwide. Too bad the game isn't that good in my opinion, but that's a topic for another video. Yes, NES or Super Famicom or whatever you wanna call it, definitely one of the most revolutionary consoles of all time, and it's pretty obvious which game is the best selling. It's of course Super Mario World. It first released on November 21st, 1990 in Japan, and it sold over 20 million units worldwide. Sega Saturn, what an underrated console in my opinion. But I'm not here to talk about that, I'm here to talk about its best-selling game. Now, before I tell you everything about it, first off, I only found the Japanese sales because for some reason on the internet there is nowhere where I could find any worldwide sales. But Sega Saturn's best-selling game was Virtua Fighter 2. It sold over 1.7 million units in Japan and was first released in Japan on December 1st, 1995. The PS1 had a pretty solid lineup of games, but the one that sold the most was Gran Turismo. It was first released on December 23rd, 1997 in Japan and sold 10.85 million copies worldwide. Pretty impressive for a racing game, don't you think? Now, what could the N64's best-selling game be? Was it Pilot Wing 64? Or maybe it was The Adventures of Hercules? Or maybe the best game of all time, Zelda Ocarina of Time? Nah, it was Mario 64, obviously. It was first released in Japan on June 23rd, 1996, and it sold over 11.91 million units worldwide. But that was to be expected from that masterpiece of a game. Sega really does know how to make underrated consoles, don't they? Or should I rather say, didn't they? I mean, it's basically common knowledge nowadays that Sega left the console business a whole while ago, with the last console being, obviously, the Sega Dreamcast. Its best-selling game was also one of its launch titles, that being Sonic Adventure. It was first released in Japan on December 23rd, 1998, and it sold 2.42 million units in total. It's pretty common knowledge at this point that Pokemon is pretty popular. I mean, you can't go anywhere and ask anyone about Pokemon without them instantly thinking Pikachu! So it's only fitting that the GBA's best-selling games, and yes, I said games, were Pokemon Ruby version and Sapphire version. They were first released in Japan on November 21st, 2002, and they sold over 60 million copies. Well, it didn't say if it was together or each individually, but the fact stands that they were the system's best-selling game. Nowadays it's impossible to deny that wherever you go, every time you mention Super Smash Bros., some guy is gonna say, well, Melee is still the best. And I think it's because so many people played Melee more than the others, because Melee was the GameCube's best-selling game. It first released in Japan on November 21st, 2001, and it sold 7.01 million copies. Now, the first thing I said about that being the most played one could also be complete trash, but let's see how the Wii and the Wii U fared instead with their best-selling games. Maybe not, I lied. First we're going to the Xbox, because I want that shit to be gone out of my life. Its best-selling game was Halo 2, first released in North America on November 9th, 2004, and sold over 8 million copies. Can we go now? Thanks. The Nintendo DS. What a great handheld. While its launch was pretty terrible, the games that followed after were all really great. Or at least mostly. Just forget the 90% of shovelware on the DS and Wii, okay? Cool. Good. Its best-selling game was the New Super Mario Bros. It was first released in North America, of all places, on May 15th, 2006, and it sold 30.80 million copies, which is really impressive if you think about it. Personally, despite never having owned a PSP, I know that it has some really great games like Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep, or Dissidia Final Fantasy, or Little Big Planet 1 and 2. And more and more. So when I found out that GTA Liberty City was its best-selling game, I was pretty shocked. Because compared to most of these other incredible PSP games, it's pretty lackluster. It's basically just GTA 3 on the handheld, with way less content. So let's just get this over with. PSP at GTA Liberty City stories. It was first released on October 24th, 2005 in North America, and it sold 7.72 million units, which is really underwhelming, even for a handheld like the PSP. The more we go on, the more we get to the big boys. And now we have the Xbox 360. You know, that thing with the Kinect? That thing that sucked so hard that no one wanted it? You know? That thing that doesn't even recognize your jumps in Sonic Free Riders? That thing? Yeah, turns out that the Xbox 360's best-selling game was indeed a Kinect game. Kinect Adventures. First released on November 4th, 2010 in North America. And it sold 25 million units. I still can't get over this. A Kinect game of all things. I don't get it. Why? Why Kinect of all things? Seriously. Whatever, let's just move on. Oh, if you think of the PS3, which game would you think is the best-selling one? Maybe an Uncharted game? Maybe The Last of Us? Maybe Beyond the Souls of Heavy Rain? It doesn't matter what you say. You're still wrong. Except if you said GTA 5, because it's GTA 5. It sold 21.3 million units and was first released worldwide on September 17th, 2013. But honestly, with all these incredible games on the PS3, the best-selling one being GTA 5, is really disappointing. But what do you want to do? Can't change it. Here we are, my favorite console of all time. I'll explain more in depth why I love this console so much in another video and why it means so much to me. But here we are at the best-selling game that this console has. And obviously, it's the one, the only Wii Sports. I mean, what else would it be? It sold 82.83 million units and was first released on November 19th, 2006 in North America. Honestly, this is an amazing game, and everybody, and I mean everybody that owns or owned a Wii has at least 2 copies lying around somewhere. If you own or owned a Wii, check everything. I'll bet with you, you don't have only 1 copy of Wii Sports. Yeah, I'll bet with you. I mean, I even had 4. Yep, 4. Let's just move on. Now we've reached the point where we are listing the consoles and handhelds that are still receiving new games and being supported to this very day, aka the So Far Zone. We're starting this one off with the 3DS. The 3DS best-selling game so far is Mario Kart 7. It was first released on December 1st, 2011 in Japan and sold 16.76 million units so far. Next up we have Uncharted Golden Abyss for the PS Vita. It was first released in Japan on December 17th, 2011, and so far it has sold 8.7 million units. Despite me never having owned, or probably never owning, a PS Vita, I still know it has great games, and this is definitely one of them. Did anybody call the ambulance? Cause I'm hearing the Wii U coming right ahead. And oh god, that was a terrible joke. Let's just move on. The Wii U's best-selling game so far is Mario Kart 8. It sold 8.40 million units so far and was first released on May 29th, 2014 in Japan. I hope I never have to do a terrible joke like that ever again. Now, we already had an Uncharted game on this list, but the PS4 has also Uncharted as its best-selling game so far. Uncharted 4: A Thief's End released worldwide on May 10th, 2016 and sold 8.7 million units so far. I really hate the Xbox One. So I'm just gonna shoot it out there and just I don't care. It's Halo 5. It was released worldwide on October 27th, 2015 and sold 5 million units so far. And now for a final challenger, we have the Nintendo Switch. And in its back we have one of the best and greatest games of all time, a real masterpiece, Super Mario Odyssey. It was released worldwide on October 27th, 2017. And man, what a great day. Also it sold 9.07 million units, so that's an accomplishment. Oh hi guys, you really caught me off guard right now. Now that the Overlord finally took all my games, I had to find a new job. And that's what I'm becoming, a broken billiard stick ninja. As it turns out, this isn't actually a real job, so now I got a restraining order.